Do you hate hand pumping spray bottles like this? It gets annoying and you don't have time to waste. I'm going to show you an awesome hack. I'm going to show you guys how to install a Schrader valve onto pump bottles. What's a Schrader valve? This is a Schrader valve. This little guy here. It allows you to pump air into these bottles so that you don't have to pump them by hand, which is super annoying. But now the newer version of this little bottle came with a Schrader valve up here, which they should have done in the first place. Which actually, if you look closely, there's a little marking here, like a little embossment in the plastic where a Schrader valve should go. But I didn't want to drill into the top here and risk any damage, so I put it down here instead. Now, there is a little bit of an issue. However, this is flexible. So when you loosen this, it does kind of hit against the handle, but it's flexible. So it just kind of hits it and then flops around it and it's completely fine. And it still works. It is a super fast way of pumping up these bottles and you get the best pressure out of them. Now I did the same thing with this little guy, which this thing is like what, $10, $15 at Home Depot? It works perfectly. So what I'm going to do is take my Miralex pump sprayers, which I've had these now for maybe 3 years. They actually sent these to me before they were available in the US, and I could have become a distributor, but I don't have room to do that here, or at least to have, stock in the US. So I think Scott from Dallas Paint Correction was one of the first ones to have it in the US, and now you can finally get them in the US on Amazon and other sites. But they don't have a Schrader valve, so I'm going to install one myself. So it is easy to do and it's cheap. I'll show you how. So here's what you're going to need. Of course, empty out your bottles that you're going to install your Schrader valve on. And this is what it looks like. So this little guy here, you're going to pull through your drilled hole and it's going to lock itself in and seal itself in around this little ring here. Now this is very important. This drill bit right here is key. So the size right here, if you can see it, it is a 29/64 drill bit. Very, very important, because it is exactly the size that you need for this Schrader valve. Any more or any less, you might get leaking. And you can find these locally. However, make sure the size is this. If not, again, you may have leaking. So what we're going to do is figure out where we want to drill our hole. Now the nice thing about these Miralex handles here is that they actually stick out a little bit. They're not straight down at a 90-degree angle, which means if we install the Schrader valve up here or right there, it's gonna pass right through the handle. So it's not gonna interfere with the handle at all. In fact, this is going to be inset even a little bit more. So that's good. These Miralex pumps will be perfect for this installation. Now, if you're worried about getting the plastic that you're going to drill inside the bottle, it's easy, you just rinse it out. It's not a problem. Oh, look at that. I actually need a bigger drill. Here we go. So I'm gonna drill right there. Nice and steady, nice and straight. Just go nice and slow. Now you can get these little round files pretty easily. You can probably find them locally at a Harbor Freight. Just clean up the edges, just a little. There we go. Now what you're gonna do is basically pull this through. It does take a little bit of effort, but you'll be able to pull it through. At first you'll think, how is that going to fit through? It does. In fact, what you can do is gently grab it with pliers and pull it through. Kind of wiggle it and it'll pop through. Make sure that it creates, whoopsie, make sure that all of the edges have pulled through. Like so. Check all the edges, make sure that they look nice and even. Let's give it a test run. Because this is nice thick rubber, it creates a nice seal in here, so it's not going to break through. So this is filled with just water, and as you can see, I've rinsed it out, of course, to make sure that any of those little plastic bits are not in there. And as you see, this revolves around perfectly without it being in the way. And when it's tightened, it's over here out of the way and not over here. So just make sure of that, tighten the bottle and figure out where you want that to go, because of course when you tighten it all up, that's gonna make a difference. So it's off to the side over here. So now just fill it with air and let's test for leaks. And instantly this pops up. This is your safety valve. So this is going to pop up when the pressure has reached its limit. So there's no risk of blowing any valves because this will release the pressure. Check for leaks, make sure there's nothing bubbling or nothing hissing. Everything sounds good. Nice. Now, of course, I don't have anything in here to foam, but it definitely puts out enough pressure. Good, let's do the other one. So the next one, again, just to test it, lock it down tight. Then you can determine where you want to put your Schrader valve. So I'm going to put it right up here. So I'm going to release this just so I don't damage anything. So right there. Once again, be very precise about your drilling. You don't want to mess anything up. Once again, gently grab at the nozzle here, the valve, and while pulling it, also push it through with your fingers and just gently persuade it to pop into that hole there. There you go. That was a nice satisfying pop. Make sure it's all sealed all the way around. That's seated perfectly in there. All right, let's go rinse it out and test it. So this was filled up with water, it was rinsed out. Tighten it nice and tight. And if you lose these little caps, don't worry about it. It's not that important. Once again, the great thing about these high quality pump bottles is the release valve. Perfect. So no more hand pumping. Get these Schrader valves and that drill bit. It's cheap, they're easy to install. Take your time installing them. Make sure the valve is in the correct place and you will love this. You're welcome.